Hey everybody, it's Average Amy, I guess you could say. I'm just hanging out after work, and I've never YouTubed before, so hopefully it'll be good. I checked one of these videos, it looked pretty good. So I'm hanging out, and I was worried about the next 50 years. So why? Why am I worried about this? 2020 is a critical election, okay? If you have kids, if you have grandkids, and if, like me, you're average and you're nearing retirement, um, you ought to be really worried about 2020. Okay? Think carefully this year. I'm going to say 2 words of why it matters for the next 50 years. Supreme Court. Okay? I know some history here. All right. In recent years, Trump has put in 2 Supreme Court justices, which are very young and very right leaning. Okay? He's already affected our children's lives for the next 40 to 50 years. Okay? The Supreme Court is no longer middle of the road. It's a 5-4 in the favor of the right. Okay? And if he gets reelected, Trump gets reelected, it will definitely be 6-3 in favor of the right for the next 30 to 50 years. For sure. Okay? And what does that mean? Okay? What do average people need? We need healthcare. Okay? We need decent wages. We need decent housing. Our children need a cleaner planet, or at least a livable planet. And they need healthcare. They need decent wages. And we need some fairness in our democracy here in America. What do Americans believe in? We believe in honesty and truth. Okay? We believe in justice and fairness. Okay? And what will happen and what has happened in our past and is already happening is a little something called gerrymandering. All right, this went to the Supreme Court in 2019. And if you don't know what it is, it's called gerrymandering because it looked like a salamander. It was the shape of a salamander, a voting district. It is when people in power in the state that they're in, they get control and they get to draw the lines in their state for the next election and the next 3 elections, the next 5 elections. And then if they get those, they get to draw the lines in favor of every election. Okay? And what they do is they have computer algorithms nowadays. And these computer algorithms can go within, carve out a little space, and you can carve it where 60% of a state can be Democratic, and yet the Republicans win all the time because they have carved out a way to divide up those 60% of their voters. So, what does that mean? The system's rigged, right? We don't like rigged systems. Is the game fair? No. We don't like unfair games, right? We're good people. We like being honest people, right? So, I don't want Republicans or Democrats drawing these unfair districts. And gerrymandering went to the Supreme Court in 2019. This unfair practice of not the voters, not one vote, one person, not the voters choosing who's elected, but the politicians choosing who elects them, choosing to be elected, basically. They're gaming the system. We do not choose them based on our population. They have now chosen themselves to be reelected. And that is closer to a dictatorship than it is close to a democracy, right? It's not democratic. So if you don't like that and you think that's unfair, then I suggest you do not vote for more right-wing people in the Supreme Court, right? And how do we keep that from happening? We vote against Trump, okay? And what else? What's another thing we need? Healthcare, okay? We need our rights to vote, and we need healthcare. A Supreme Court with extreme right justices, they rule in favor of corporations. And if they rule in favor of corporations, and we have someone who has had illnesses and it wasn't covered and it wasn't paid for, and we have a corporation on one side that's after profits and say something went wrong and they go all the way to Supreme Court, they're going to rule in favor of the profits. So not only does that mean our healthcare costs will go up, it'll be more of a tangled mess with more expensive drug prices, but it also means, as workers, that this Supreme Court, if Trump is reelected for the next 50 years, that Supreme Court will rule in favor of business, in favor of corporations. Wages. Do you think corporations will raise wages if they don't have to? No, they're not just out there flinging money at us. There's a history of them using workers like a piece of machinery. And before unions, you were a piece of that machine. If you died on the job due to those insanely unsafe conditions or being overworked, and you're an old person because there's no retirement at that point. If you died, they just stuck another human in that spot, just like a machine, like a bolt fell out. And that widow got little or nothing. In fact, she got thrown out of the company house with her children, and she was on the street starving if her husband died in those days. In unions, and people in the unions fought hard in states like Pennsylvania and Ohio and states in Appalachia, West Virginia, and they died. They fought hard to have a decent living and to have a safe place to go to work and not lose an arm or lose their life. Okay, so speaking of dying for the flag, they died for that right. And you and I can thank them because we now have a 40-hour work week. We're not there 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day. We're not there in an unheated room. We're not there with poisonous gases and dangerous machinery. And we can thank the unions for that. And in recent years, the Supreme Court has been against unions. Okay, and I know they will be even more so. And they'll rule against it. So there go those human rights. And do you think the corporations are going to pay for our benefits without being told they need to? And if they get a free pass when they go to Supreme Court? No. Why would they pay for benefits any more than they have to? Do you think they're going to give us retirements? No. Do you think they're going to pay a decent wage? Not if they don't have to. And then it'll be their market to just scoop up the desperate people who are trying to work 2 or 3 jobs because we have such low wages and such horrible benefits. And that is the future of 40-year Trump Supreme Court will paint for us and our children. Okay? It's very unlikely that they would do the right thing and the corporations will do the right thing by the small people. Very unlikely because money is king. Also, Supreme Court is money in politics. What do we all just think is the best use of money in America? Ironically, sarcastic, is billions of dollars just being thrown around for TV ads and politicians and for schmoozing in DC and buying your politicians and getting your company or your healthcare plan supported, despite what it does to the average people, to us down here. You know, they're up here paying the money to the politicians. spinning and lying and spinning on ads, and we're spreading it around on Facebook down here, even when it's false. So be careful. Okay? And think about what's best for your future and your children's future. Do you think corporations are going to want to clean up their act and do the right thing with their toxic waste if they don't have to? No. Oh, and we're going to let them do this on public lands too. The land we all own, our heritage for our children. The Yellowstones and the Yosemites and the wild lands in the West are in danger. They've already been closed down by Trump. Certain ones have been opened up to drilling and mining. And basically, wouldn't that be nice? If you could go to your neighbor's yard and dig up his treasure out of his yard, and the government would support you. And that is basically what they're doing. They're subsidizing the big companies. They're subsidizing them. There is socialism, but it's towards those companies. They're subsidizing beef. They're subsidizing milk. Our taxes are, right? So wouldn't you rather have that go into something other than politics? It could be saving lives. It could be feeding children. It could be improving our education systems. It could be sending our kids to college. All that money. But it's being spent on politicians and politics. And the ruling of Citizens United is what allows that. Billions of unrevealed sources are going into politics even more than it was already. So now, you and I, average Amy, average you, we can't even run for office, could we? We don't have the money. We just don't. And how is a country run of people like us, average? How are we being run by a bunch of people who can't even relate to us? And they're not going to put in place things that protect us. Okay? We know companies aren't going to protect us all on their lonesome. They aren't magically ethical. A few might be owned by very ethical CEOs or startups. They might be. But chances are they're mainly out for profits. So if you would like the next 40 to 50 years to be all about reduced benefits, later retirement, higher health care, more pollution, more rigged elections, more lies, more money in elections, and less about one person, one vote, less about the children, the future, and the elderly, and our health care, and the health of our nation and our land and this world, then if you would like to see that and have a good future for your kids, more like Canada, England, Australia, which are not frightening places. They are socialist democracies. That is not frightening. Canada? Are you scared of Canada? They're the nicest people, right? Aren't they? And they have healthcare. And it's wise. If you would like your children to have a shot at having their own business and living their dream, then they're going to need healthcare. They can't go out single-handedly without healthcare. They can be an entrepreneur if they have an affordable healthcare. They can follow their dreams. They can go for that acting career or race car driving or whatever their dream is if they have some healthcare. And so if you would like a planet and a nation moving towards good things for your children and your grandchildren, then you must think about the Supreme Court for the next 50 years. And that means do not allow Trump to rig the system for the next 50 years against the average Amy and the average you. And thank you for listening. Good luck. You can check facts at factcheck.org, and you can check them at politifact.com. And there are reputable sources that are rated on Media Matters. NPR has an A+ factual rating, and you can find the facts. So don't be afraid to go out there and figure it out. And don't forget to vote for your kids' future. Thank you.